Let's take a look at The Advocate, the newspaper of the Female Moral Reform Society, to see how this actually worked.
Women who formed this were acolytes of Charles Finney and his radical revivals. Many of his revival converts went into relatively radical abolitionists or conservative and also radical abolitionist movements, and this particular group, a segment of this among New York middle-class women decided to focus on sexuality. And they were convinced that 10,000 brothels existed in New York City in the early 1820s, and that prostitution was ubiquitous. Prostitution probably was ubiquitous. They were probably fairly right about this. They looked at it in two different perspectives. They were concerned with trying to work with and save prostitutes, and they were concerned with the double standard and male licentiousness across class. And they basically said no man was above suspicion, and that the wealthiest men were going to these brothels, and that they and their daughters were not safe from venereal disease and from living with people of very questionable morals, i.e. their fathers and husbands and sons. So they wanted to reform male society, and they wanted to end the double standard. And this is where you begin to get a sense of a proto-feminism developing. They had a fantastical explanation for the rise of prostitution, urban prostitution, which was that lecherous men from the cities, lawyers, bankers, would go off into the country, meet some beautiful young farm girl, seduce her, bring her into the city, and abandon her to prostitution. I think this is a metaphoric statement of their fear of the changing of the economic structures of the country, where the man stands for, in fact, finance, all these places that women, in fact, have no power and which really do control their lives. And the young prostitute is either the farming population that is coming into the city, which is a literal representation, or of all women's powerlessness in the face of this changing economic structure, and this really the separation of work from home and the increasing power of the financial section and the industrial section in the country. But anyway, this is their story. And in that sense, they see themselves in an intimate relationship with the young prostitutes. They are fantasized, they really think of themselves as a mother-daughter relationship, which we've just seen is their frame of reference anyway. So they're thinking of themselves in this. So these are now, mother-daughters are not sisters. So we're not saying that they are projecting an equitable relationship between themselves as middle-class matrons and working-class prostitutes, but they are envisioning the working-class prostitute as an oppressed person who must be saved.
And they're guiding that.
And guiding them. And this includes, you know, the very negative aspects, but also some positive aspects.
So let's continue this conversation as we look at the document.
Okay, great.